Hi, guys. Sorry, I was busy reading. I'm Captain Foley, and I'm joined by, of course, Commander Cockings today. This is a
That's me.
podcast. Yep.
Good old podcast, guest podcast. But Stuart, I found something on my desk. It's a little bit old. It's a little bit famous. Looks cool, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Ironically, the thing we both have.
Oh, I have one here, but we do have a special guest, and that would be Cal Schnatz Jr. Welcome to the show, Cal.
Hey, thank you very much, Stuart, Samuel. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so why are you here today? What could we be talking about, do you think?
Well, you know, there was this one technical manual that came out back in the 70s. It was done by a really talented individual, Franz Joseph. And it was called the Starfleet Technical Manual. Mm-hmm. And that quickly became the standard for Star Trek technology and fandom across the board. I own a couple of versions myself, including one in an e-read format. It's been republished I don't know how many times, and even today with the new brand of Trekkers, they still know about the old Franz Joseph manual, and they regard it as gospel.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we have here, of course, the old one. Well, Stan and myself have one. I got to show mine, though. Mine's signed by Walter Koenig, James Doohan, and William Shatner. Sorry, I just had to show that off.
No problem. I'm all about shameless plugs and autographs.
And mine's not mine. Mine's my dad, because this is not a new book. This is an older book. So something I did know about because it's on the bookshelf. But
so we've already established that we got these, older technical manuals, which are very awesome and definitely cool. But could we be maybe expecting something newer, kind of an updated version?
I mean, I would love to see that. It's
been around for a while.
I'd love to see that personally, as a fan of Star Trek and all things technical and ship related, as are Trekyards.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, I would too.
If only there was such a thing.
Well, you know what? As it just so happens, I have some inside information that there is going to be a new technical manual hitting the stores at the end of this month.
Wow.
And I happen to know the author of it personally.
Oh, really? Who's that?
We should totally interview him at some point.
Yes, he's a really great guy. His name is Cal Schnatz Jr. And for the past couple of years, he's been working on a Star Trek technical manual, right, as an homage to the one that was created by Franz Joseph.
Excellent.
Cool. Now you say that, and straight away I'm thinking, okay, technical manual. Is it? I mean, this is a big book with everything under the sun. I mean, is this to the same level, more or less? I mean, it's got all the...
No. Well, that's a really good question, and it actually includes a lot more than was in the original technical manual. Final page count on this manual was 383 pages.
Wow.
All right. And basically, it picks up where Franz Joseph left off.
Oh, well, so does that mean that all the stuff that's in this one's not in yours, then?
No, it's in mine, and it's an updated version, whereas in the Franz Joseph manual, the starship schematics, for example, were pretty simple. They were black and white. They would call out things like main sensor, primary hull, secondary hull, warp engine, and that was it. The schematics in my new book actually go into a lot more detail of what's in the ships. They actually call out some of the exposed components that are on the outside of the ships. And a lot of the ships that you see in there, which are considered sea canon or conjectural canon, I actually listed out some problems with those designs, right, and corrected them in this new manual.
Oh, anything specifically? There's not very many ships in here, so which one of the ships in here did you maybe work on and fix?
Well, a couple of the ships that I actually worked on and fixed, I call them the twins, the Saladin class and the Hermes class.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, if you take a look in the old Franz Joseph manual, they were basically the exact same ship. Yeah. Only one was designated a scout and one was designated a destroyer.
Always confusing.
The main difference between the two of them, it is confusing. And then when you have to go in there, you take a look at the main difference between the two in the Franz Joseph manual was photon torpedoes. The Saladin had it. The Hermes did not have torpedo armaments. Hence why it was a scout. So I went on to rectify that situation along with others. So if you don't mind, I'll take you through a walkthrough of the Saladin class first.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Okay, the one thing that always bothered me about the Saladin class was the fact that it was basically just a saucer section and a neck with a warp nacelle put on the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great, simple, lightweight design, perfect for a destroyer. But you have to take into account, where was all the machinery that made the warp drive work?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? In a Constitution class, it was in the secondary hull. They had a whole engineering section dedicated just to provide power to the warp engines and the matter-antimatter reaction chambers. So where would this be on a Saladin class? The prime fan theory, is that it was housed in the saucer section. But then at what cost to what room, what facilities, and other vital equipment that was actually housed in the saucer section. So what I did to remedy that is I actually put an extension on the lower hull, right below to the rear of the impulse engines that actually housed a dedicated engineering section, and also housed another thing that was missing from the Saladin, a dedicated shuttle bay.
That's cool. I've seen editions of Shuttle Bay up top, kind of an extended BC deck. But yes, that's very cool.
I've seen those fan inclinations myself. They actually put it on top. I've seen them actually cut into the top of the hull or the bottom of the hull and add 2 shuttle bays to the front of it as well. There were actually blueprints produced of that diagram, right?
Okay.
But I was never a really big fan of that because, again, it would take out more critical systems and more critical equipment that would be needed to run the starship that were already housed in the saucer section.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, actually.
Cool.
No, this is a nice take on the original design, and I like how it's the same but different. I mean, that's totally awesome.
Because one thing,
Good job.
when did this manual come out? I mean, I think it was pre-TMP, or is it after TMP? But it doesn't have those later.
No, it was pre-TMP.
So, I mean, the continuity of this
pre-TMP.
book is sort of limited to one very specific part of Trek. And then when you expand Trek, it ignores the rules that have been set in, and it bypasses other rules. So I'm sure you've gone in and cleaned up the continuity mistakes, the problems, the things that don't work, just to make it fit in with the grander universe, because you can't just rely on TOS, because there's so much more to TOS. I mean, I'm sure you've linked into NX-01 era and other bits and bobs to really try and bring it all together.
Well, the first chapter that I decided to put in the book was the history of Starfleet. And this was basically to somebody who's just getting into the franchise and wants to know a little bit about how everything got created, how Starfleet came to be, how the United Federation of Planets came to be. So it basically starts off with Zephram Cochrane and his flight in the Phoenix. It goes down to the creation of USPA, the United Earth Space Probe Agency, and how USPA morphed into USPA Starfleet and how it became the United Federation of Planets Starfleet. And it goes into major historic events such as the first warp flight, the Romulan War, right, the signing of the Federation. I felt that the one thing in Star Trek, the original series, that was always underused was the animated series. And now, since CBS considers the animated series to be canon, I wanted to include that in there. And the reason why I like to do that is because a lot of the major writers for the actual live action show for the original series were on board writing scripts for the animated series.
Yeah.
So I put in the Kazin Wars into the Starfleet history. I also put in the Bonaventure, which was a source of huge controversy, being the first warp ship that the Federation developed. So I actually gave it a nice little backstory as to why it was called the first warp ship, right? When we already know that the Phoenix was the first one to break the warp barrier. Right? And so it just leads up to where we left off with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in that era, before the motion picture.
And I assume you delved quite a lot into the 50 years of Trek, or that big manual there, the Takei intro.
Yes, I did, and I'm sorry I went down that wormhole. Because with TOS, even when they were in production back in the 60s, they had no continuity, they had no backstory, they had no writer's Bible. They were just winging it. A perfect example would be the episode where Kirk refers to the governing body of the Enterprise and Starfleet as the United Earth Space Probe Agency.
Yeah.
That was before anybody ever thought of the United Federation of Planets.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, I have one quick question. You said this was Volume 1 that's being released. Is there a Volume 2 that we can expect?
Yes, there is going to be a Volume 2, and that's going to cover the era from Star Trek the Motion Picture until Star Trek 6.
That'll be awesome. That'll be cool to see that for sure.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be all taken care of in Volume 2. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a next generation version of my technical manual.
Oh, no.
Is it because there's too much of the universe to go into?
The next generation version... Well, basically, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm very fair that way. And the Next Generation has always been the preview of Michael Okuda, Denise Okuda, and Doug Drexler. People I found great inspiration from, and they've done a great job so far with the Canon continuity and their own technical manuals that I don't think that there's any way I could top the work and the research that they've done.
Makes sense.
Cool, that's fair enough. So for people that might be interested in buying this book, and you better be a lot of you out there, when can we see, what's the release date for this?
The release date is going to be on May 27th of this year, and it's going to be carried in all major bookstores like Barnes & Noble. It's also going to be available online. It's going to be available through Amazon, directly through the publisher. And I'm also going to be setting up a Facebook page that's totally dedicated to this book that will be accepting pre-orders through there.
Now,
that's excellent.
Obviously, I've known you both, Stuart for a long time and Cal for a bit, but when this was first brought up to me, because we deal with so much fan content from Renegades to Axnata to all these things, we produce fan content. I assume this is just a fan thing because I've seen people replicate this style a lot of the times. And then some days Stuart said, oh no, this is officially licensed. So, you say bookstores, are you allowed to do that? Is that fine? What sort of ties do you have that lets you make this? Is this an official thing? Because we're sort of stepping around that, but it's actually really official.
This is really, really official. It is licensed through CBS, and it is through CBS Paramount as an official publication.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, I spent all this time and all working on this book and getting everything together. I thought that it would only be fair to do it the right way, to get it out there in the hands of the fans by going out to CBS saying, hey, look, I'm a huge fan. I really love this. This is what I want to do. Here's my proposal. And it was a long and arduous process, but eventually they gave me their blessing, so to speak.
That's awesome. So my next question is, we've talked quite a bit about this. Back and forth, we've kind of worked, you've bounced things off me, and I've kind of helped you out with this. Now, I've heard that there's some special editions of this coming out down the road after the initial.
Special editions of this? I can think of one that comes to mind right now, and one that I'm very proud to announce.
What's that?
That there is going to be a special edition coming out 1 month after the standard edition hits the bookstores. Okay. And it's going to be a Trekyards special edition.
What? Yeah, we knew that. Sorry, guys. And tell us about that special edition. What makes it different? What makes it special?
Well, the special edition is basically has all the same content as the standard manual that you could buy at stores, except it's going to have an exclusive collector's cover that's going to be embossed with the Trekyards logo. It's going to have additional credits on the cover of Captain Stuart Foley and Commander Samuel Cockings. There's also going to be a special foreword that was written by both of you fine gentlemen that's not included in the standard edition. There's also going to be a couple more ship schematics included inside the book that aren't in the standard version, and I will just let the fans out there wait, buy them, and figure out what they are. No spoilers. I'm not about that. And also, with the Trekyards edition, there will be 4 16 by 20 posters of various ship schematics and size charts. as well as a rank chart for enlisted and officers as well from that era of Star Trek.
Cool.
Cool.
Only available through Trekyards.
Good response. Awesome. No, that's exciting. We're so happy to hear that. Now, I got to jump in with another question, though, real quick. You said since this is officially licensed by CBS, is this considered canon? Is there a blessing for that, or?
Well, I'm sure as far as book canon goes, it can't be canon unless it's on the screen. So.
Well, yes, exactly. That's true. Yeah.
It can't be canon unless it's on the screen. However, there is a big push right now over at CBS to actually have printed material recognized as canon. They're taking a page out of the Lucasfilm Disney archive right now. So basically, just to explain to you where I'm coming from with this, when Disney acquired Lucasfilm and the Star Wars properties, right, they basically took the expanded universe of Star Wars and said it doesn't count, it doesn't exist. But now, since Disney is producing new comic books, since they acquired the Star Trek license in cooperation with Marvel, now they're saying that those comic books are canon. So CBS is kind of swaying toward that end, where printed materials can be considered canon.
Interesting. Well, some of the comic books leading up to the new movies are considered canon as well.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I'm sure, in the olden days, with less internet and less pervasive fans being so in need of information, we here at Trekyards, we do episodes on ships like the Akira and the Steamrunner, and the DS9 technical manual has sizes that conflict with the ILM size chart, which they obviously used in the movies, which is is the canon because it's physically there. And so those sorts of materials, if you said that's canon, it would make device a lot of other things that don't work. But I'm sure someone like yourself, who is coming out fresh, who's got this is their primary project, they're not actually having to make DS9 at the same time, or whatever. They're doing it full several years on this. I'm not sure how long they had to make the DS9 manual, but I'm sure you're trying to get everything right. And because it's TOS, you've got a bit more flexibility in a box, if you know what I mean. There's like a box, and you can be flexible within the box to make it all completely make sense. So I'm sure yours would be a nice thing to see, and I'm sure fans would love to. I always say with TOS, the big thing TOS was missing was a TOS fleet. That they need to have more ships in the show. So it'd be nice to see it sometime when CBS does some sort of official TOS thing, and to be able to see some of these ships. Then you might then see, oh look, it's a Hermes with these deflector dishes, and that's because that would be absolutely incredible, I'm sure. Which actually I'd like to bring something up then while we do, because obviously you've posted stuff on our Trekyards page for probably like a year now at this point. I think a long time. And I was always impressed when you say, oh, I'm going to start working on this thing, and a few years later you've got this schematic view thing, but you did all the JJ ships as well. You tried to make those and incorporate them, and all right, so that's what you did.
Well, yes, in a way you are correct. What I did was I took a lot of the JJ ships, all right, that were actually seen over there, and I gave them a TOS treatment.
Nice.
Right, so they would easily, seamlessly fit into the TOS universe, look and feel of Starship design, but the original designs were actually based in the JJ verse. Like I TOSized, if you will, right? The Kelvin or the Einstein class, right? The Armstrong class. I've done that. I've even given a TOS treatment to some of the Enterprise ships.
Oh, nice.
Right, like the Intrepid.
Cool.
I gave that a TOS treatment. And what I found was, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot for saying this, but the JJ ships actually look better with the TOS treatment.
Probably.
That's not surprising, yeah.
They actually do.
Yeah.
Now, what was that something? Was that a thing you wanted to do when you started? Was this a thing that Paramount said, well, they're canon-ish, you should include them, or was that very much your own decision?
Well, it was actually one of those where when they come up to you and say, you know what we would like to see? It's totally your choice if you want to do it, but we would just love to see it. That's kind of like do it or die. In a polite way.
Cool.
So it's like, okay, if you would like to see it, I'll throw it in there.
And what were their reactions? Because I'd love to hear what the brass would think of a TOS JJ fleet. And these are all nice teasers for a book. You need to buy the book to see these things. But what do they say?
Yes, and let me tell you, they saw my original concept designs that I came up with, keeping this basic same shape as what was seen in Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness. And they flipped. They couldn't believe how well they looked and how seamlessly that they would fit in to that bygone era. Right? And it was because of that also had them, I believe anyway, rethinking their starship design aesthetic for the new movies.
Interesting.
Right? One of the accumulations of that would be the Franklin. That's actually going to be in Star Trek Beyond. They actually took a page out of old school Star Trek for that ship.
And
FASA.
Yeah, which we said and had a long discussion about in our episode, which has been well reviewed. We had fun with that one.
Yeah, and it's those little nods that the fans like us really appreciate, and that's what I think the first movie or two was kind of missing. But as long as they're starting to do that, that's awesome.
Well, that's the whole thing with the JJ verse, as it's affectionately called. It really got itself a bad rap. It really did. Well, you got to look at it for what it is. You have a property that's 50 years old. All right? Think of it as World War II veterans. Right? They're dying off. They're not making any. And once the last one is gone, he's gone. So if they didn't do something with Star Trek to try and revitalize, right, the genre, sooner or later it would be forgotten.
I don't know if I buy that.
At least that's my take on it, because so far there are a whole bunch of new fans that have never been exposed to Star Trek before that literally got their first taste of it with the JJ verse.
Well, my counter to that would be that World War II veterans, that makes sense for the original TOS, those who were there at the time and loved that aesthetic. But obviously TNG, DS9, all for First Contact, all those things. I mean, that's another 20 years of people who've been watching Trek, who then and that's much more what's the word, accessible to new fans because it's more advanced, it's more
Yes.
So in terms of the old stuff, fine, but with JJ films, they could just have done a different era, and it would have been wouldn't have had that same problem sort of thing. But
of course, that's a very valid point, and I do accept it. But unfortunately, JJ is here with us to stay. And
to be fair, he's
getting better.
To be fair, he's gone. It's his team, and it's a different team. So it's not JJ, it's the on team, which is the exciting bit.
That's right. He jumped ship for Star Wars.
Yes.
But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. So May 27th, you said, is the release date?
May 27th is the release date. I will definitely send you guys links. I will definitely send you guys links. And Samuel and Stuart, you both have autographed copies coming your way.
Awesome.
Christmas comes early.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Trekyards edition too out there.
The only thing I ask is just take a picture of it on your bookshelf with the original Franz Joseph manual.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cool.
And then when we're in, if we get some copies for Denver, we can sign some Trekyards editions and send you some Trekyards editions. Then you can have all three. We can have the whole collector's.
Absolutely.
All the collector's set all signed.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Cal. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I really like it. You can have me back anytime you want to.
Think we will.
And speaking of that, we are going to have you back for a special podcast edition after the book is released, so we can talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah. Sounds great to me.
All right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm probably still Commander Cockins. I think
so. And
Cal Schnatz.
Saying
no rank.
See you guys next time. Go spend some money.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.